Okay, perfect. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, which is Mastering M&A, your playbook for successful integration. I'm Molly, Chief of Staff at Siswa, and I'm joined by Sunita, who's our go-to expert on transformation, M&A delivery, and playbook development. Sunita, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, thanks, Molly. Hi, everyone. So it's great to be here. I'm genuinely excited about this session. It's a topic that I feel can add lots of value to organisations, and we've got plenty of insight to share from the front lines of integration. I personally have over 15 years of experience in transformation delivery, including mergers and acquisitions as well. In particular, I'm passionate about helping teams navigate transformation with clarity and confidence, which is wholly relevant to today's topic as well. So I'm looking forward to diving into discussion and hearing your perspectives as well.
Perfect, thank you. Let me share my screen and we'll start going through our information for you. Can you see my slides? Yeah.
I can, but if Bridget or Claire, you could confirm, that would be great. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you, Claire.
Perfect. So what's on the agenda for today? So who is this webinar for? How to recognize a bad playbook? What makes an M&A playbook truly effective? What's the benefits that you should start to see? And we'll share a real life example and how this has come into practice, and also how SISWA can help you if you feel that you need support in this particular area.
Yeah, and absolutely, we'll keep it informal and conversational. We try to avoid jargon as well and just use real experiences.
Great. So let's kick off. So let's start here. Sunita, who is this playbook actually designed for?
So I believe that lots of people can benefit really. For example, if you're doing M&A as part of your growth strategy, whether that's entering new markets, expanding your pipeline, restructuring or creating long-term value, then I really believe that this could be of benefit. If you think about, for example, private equity or pharma, where integrations can often be rapid fire and high stakes as well.
Great. And I really like this quote that you put in here. I think it says it perfectly. Most mergers don't fail necessarily at deal stage, but they fail during integration.
Exactly that. So an effective playbook really does help to close that gap, and it really gives that repeatable way to capture value and not just announce it. So yeah, absolutely agree with that statement.
And we've all probably, Sunita, you a lot more than me, but we've all seen a fair share of bad playbooks. What if we start off, what are some of the red flags that you usually see?
There are often many and often consistent red flags as well. So things like playbooks that are too long, too generic, too theoretical, lots of context in there, but not a lot of action and usefulness for the user. Um, Often you get playbooks that people don't use. Sometimes they don't even know where to find the playbooks. So really it's not actioning as a playbook itself. It kind of becomes like a PDF or document graveyard. So yeah, many red flags.
And what would you say some of the real world consequences of some of these?
Things like people duplicating effort, teams stepping on each other's toes, missing key dependencies. And in the case of an acquisition, these are all things that can really erode that trust with the acquired company. But if you were to ask me what's worst of all, I would say of all of these consequences can lead to high integration costs than what was originally forecast, which then reduces the value of the deal. So definitely things to watch out for there.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like realizing the value that you're initially intending to achieve within an M&A. I assume kind of as you start working through it and people are getting into integration, the initial value that you wanted to achieve is maybe forgotten at times as you get into integration straight away.
Absolutely. And I think it comes back to that quote that you had on there earlier as well. where not enough attention is focused on integration. So yeah, managing your costs, managing your integration is key for that for sure.
And what would you, I was just letting Alexander in there. If we flip it then, what makes an M&A playbook actually useful?
So I believe that a great playbook cuts through the noise. It really helps teams to align, retain knowledge, and create consistency across multiple integrations. It's something that can be modular, flexible, and easy to update. So you should be able to use it whether you're preparing pre-close or in the weeds on, say, day 100 of integration. It really should be something that someone can access, get to the relevant parts of the playbook that they need, and really find it of value as opposed to something that's scrolled through, not really sure where to get the right information, that kind of thing.
Okay. And in terms of outcomes then, if what kind of benefits do people see if the playbook is actually working? If people are sat here and thinking, I have a playbook and I feel it's not working, or I'm thinking about producing one, what's kind of the benefits that they should see on the ground, if this is done effectively?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, some of the feedback that we've had from clients is that they've seen smoother onboarding,
Hmm.
fewer delays, and clearer accountability, which is critical as well. It really does also help manage expectations with the acquired companies and enables better comms, which then makes it easier to track progress and lessons learned as well. I mean, I think one of our clients put it perfectly when they said it has massively been helpful when engaging the acquired company,
Hmm.
and that's because they were able to clearly articulate the journey that the acquired company employees were going to be taken on and what they're going to be doing with them. And that's what we aim for, making it as smooth as possible, and as useful and real life as possible.
And I know we've spoke about it before, Sanita, but I kind of love this real life example that you've got. Like, do you mind talking us through for people that have joined on what really happened here?
Of course, yeah. So this case study in particular was a global med tech firm that separated from its parent company, and they did have other playbooks and things in place, but their previous playbooks didn't really reflect their new processes following separation. And some of the playbooks they had were either considered too detailed and context heavy, that it was no longer useful,
Hmm.
or too high level, which then hindered its usability as well. So they were looking for something in between and really focused on actually being action orientated. Someone can pick it up and actually understand what the processes are that they need to go through and why, and what the purpose was, but without draining in that heavy detail that actually, when you're trying to get through an acquisition, is less relevant. And with the team actually focused on delivering acquisitions as their day job, updating or creating a new playbook internally wasn't feasible. I mean, they had done attempts of that, but actually what they found was they needed dedicated resource to actually get something in place within a fixed period of time, and then that would enable them to move forward much quicker.
Mm. And with this particular client, what did we then do to support them with that?
Yeah, so we really partnered closely with them, and we always work in very close collaboration. But we used a structured approach. So first, we made sure that we defined the scope, making sure that everyone was clear on what those scope boundaries were, and then we agreed design principles early. So things like including visual, defining the life cycle that would underpin the playbook, the format, the fact that it needs to be all good things like that. And then we held some collaborative sessions with the team members. Is there a bit of background noise in there?
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's
Thank you.
there. Cool. Yeah, so once we've done some collaborative sessions, we'd basically pull together a first draft based on our knowledge, based on knowledge from the team, and then we would present it back. And we designed a practical and interactive PowerPoint deck as a proof of concept, got those signed off, and then once we did that, we built it into SharePoint. So it was very easily accessible and interactive as well. So the interactiveness that we built in PowerPoint was pulled through into SharePoint, but built upon and enhanced as well. So there was no more scrolling through lots of pages trying to find what you're looking for. And it was a really iterative process. So it wasn't top down. And I think that's really what made it stick. Like we were talking to not only leadership, but we talked to other people in the team as well that do this day to day, which made it a really useful playbook in the end.
Hmm. And just on here, the well, I think the feedback at the bottom really speaks for itself. But do you mind talking through some of the outcomes that the playbook provided for the client and what they saw?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there were many benefits, as you can see on the slide itself. But if I was to call out a couple of key things, I mean, it wasn't just a document or a SharePoint site. It really helped alignment across different functions. So we're talking like IT, HR, all the different teams, the actual functional areas as well. There was improved collaboration with the acquired company, and then it created consistency as well in how the acquisitions were executed.
And I think that this one's really interesting about the continuous improvement. It's not just a one and done, right?
Right, yeah. So we baked that into the governance model so that the playbook could be tested and evolved with each deal. And we also made sure that maintenance, it was built with maintenance in mind as well, so that it could be updated very easily. And it didn't have like a key man dependency to be able to do that as well.
Okay. And if there's someone watching this and thinking, we need this, or maybe we're in the middle of producing something like this, or we've got one but we feel it's not working, how do we help?
So I think that slide summarizes it quite well, really. I think we bring four key things. So one of them is time. I mentioned at the beginning of the case study that we talked through that, we're not trying to do this on the side of death. Like we are dedicated resource that can come in and do it full time, so it doesn't get deprioritized. We also bring dynamism. So we design it to be interactive and easy to use, which we've touched on a little bit in this as well. And then we have a track record as well. So we've done this across different industries and we've seen what works and what doesn't work,
Mm.
which enables us to cut through some of those stages and actually get to a proper product, which we agree with our clients all the way through to make sure they're happy as well. And then because of that experience, we do have that expertise as well. And one thing that we're very conscious of is balancing the structure of having flexibility and building in real world delivery, but also having a framework and something there that actually is repeatable and usable whilst maintaining that flexibility.
Mm. I think what you said on the previous slide as well is that we tailor it to, the client's environment. So sitting with the people on the ground that are actually going to be using this, that might struggle with it, that might be resistant at times to take on this new playbook. So it's not just a kind of plug and play. We have this template, but we don't just use that entirely. It really is built for the client based on their own processes and what they're experiencing at the time.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And we do a number of things as well to make sure that we are listening to our clients and meeting their expectations as we go, if not exceeding their expectations. Like we have regular check-ins, we have proper sign-off meetings as well. We provide updates on a weekly basis, including examples and proof of concepts and things. So the client really knows what they're getting and it is tailored to their environment and their branding and everything else as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And that's it for this session. We kept it short and sweet intentionally, to give you a brief overview in terms of the work that Sunita's done, how we can help, but also some points for you to take away and see if it's what you're experiencing, it's what you need. So it's great to be able to share this with you. And we're actually going to open up to the floor if we have any questions or anyone that wants to dig into anything else on this session. We do have a good 10 minutes if anyone has any. I will stop sharing. Let's have a look in the chat. Do we have any questions from anyone? Okay, we've got one from Oliver. Thanks both for the interesting conversation. Could you please talk through any special cases where it has been necessary to deviate from playbook standardization?
So it's a really good question. You know, we talk about the benefits of a playbook and the consistency of standardization, but we do recognize that sometimes when you're working on deals, there are special cases where it's necessary to deviate. So the way that we have managed that and the approach that we've taken is to cover the majority of cases. So what is the norm for the business? How do we normally do integrations? Like 80% of the time, or what is directionally correct? But then we included very clear guidance within the playbooks as well, and notes as well. So we've put some, for example, cases where it might be necessary to deviate. And then we've also put points of contact from who people should gain approval for such a deviation as well. So um, absolutely, there are deviations. We do recognise that. But usually we would cover it off by talking about what those deviations could be and then who to get approval from in that situation. But we have also had cases where the client asked us to document the deviations where they occur slightly more commonly. And really, we go back to what you were saying, Molly, we flex our approach to what the clients want. So, you know, if somebody says, well, actually, this is such a key deviation that we need captured in proper detail, then we will capture that in proper detail. If it is a case of just talking about what it could be and then who to get approval from to deviate from that, we'll do that. So we really do that tailored approach, but absolutely recognise there are special cases against the standardised route of acquisition.
Great, thank you. We have a question from Ken. Can we access the recording? Yes, we will share the recording of this session afterwards to everyone that's joined. We have one from Alexandra. Thanks both. Why did your client in the case study choose SharePoint as a platform and not another alternative?
Yeah, so basically, part of the client's strategy in this scenario was to become more online and build directly into SharePoint rather than using SharePoint as in its most limited form as document storage, which it had been done historically. So they were actually very enthusiastic to embrace the idea when we suggested it. And it really did help bring the playbook to life. So it was very easy to navigate, it was interactive, and in the end, it became a showcase for best practice for the wider organisation, given their strategy to move to SharePoint. And it enabled us to put lots of information into one place without it being overwhelming, without having to scroll through lots of information to get to where you need to get to. So it really just was an ideal platform, really, for what they were looking for.
Great, thank you. I think that's all of our questions. Oh, we have another one. Thanks, Anita, for the answer. I have another question if we have time. We do have time. How often do you recommend companies review their M&A playbook, even if they are working?
That's a really good question. So, funnily enough, the client that I was talking about within the case study, I finished work with them just before the summer, and I've got a catch up coming up with them like a couple of months later, just to see initially like how helpful it's been. But then I will continue those check-ins as well, just to make sure it is working as we had intended. But really good point, because what you don't want to do is be fall into that trap of you've got a really good playbook, it's working, and then that's it. We just follow it up blindly. Things change, circumstances change, and things can be improved. To your point, Molly, about the continuous improvement. So they should review it. I would say minimum 6 months, and that is minimum, because sometimes things are a bit more dynamic than that and change more often. So really, it depends on the organisation, but definitely don't leave it longer than 6 months to review, I would say.
And I assume as you're finishing the playbook, it's handing that over. So having someone that is then responsible for the document or accountable to keep that check-in as needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we did as part of our design principle of ensuring it was built with maintenance in mind was have clear owners to
Hmm.
receive the playbook and be responsible for the content. So we had owners for, like, so for example, where it covered enterprise cyber security, we had the cyber deal lead take ownership of that section. But then we also had a SharePoint owner, so someone who's actually going to then be responsible for updating it within the SharePoint site as well. So yeah, ownership and responsibility is key for the handover piece.
Great. Thank you. I think that's all of our We've got one from Ken. Actually, I have been pulling an M&A playbook on behalf of my client. We update the playbook after each acquisition as they all have their nuances.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Like the fact that they update it each time is really good. Um, so yeah, that sounds like good practice to me.
Great. We'll leave it there. Obviously, I'm Molly and we've got Sanita, so you can find us on LinkedIn if you want to get into contact to find out more. We do have Sanita's contact details on the slides and we'll share it as part of the recording as well. But it's great to have you all, and I hope this was useful. And is there any last points from you, Sanita?
No, just get in touch if you feel like you want a further conversation on this, or if you'd like to discuss anything further related to it.
Great. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.